Welcome back. We're going to start to cut through the field now. You lose and you're out of the tournament. The U.S. losing earlier today. They are out of the medal running. Let's take a look at the lineups in this one. Great matchup coming up between Finland and Russia. Starting off with the Finns, the team we saw the other day. Watch Arto Kuki, Montreal Canadiens draft pick, number 16 up front. And also number 10, Juho Jokinen, not drafted, a 19-year-old, very entertaining hockey player. Back on the blue line, some decent experience back there. A notably Toronto Maple Leafs draft pick. That is Rajamäki has the big shot, number 4. In net, Mika Kiprasov, saw him the other day, draft pick of the San Jose Sharks, plays for Turku back in the Finnish Elite League. On Russia, lots and lots of experience. Draft picks, 14 of them in the lineup. You want to watch number 12, Alexander Koroluk up front. He's a San Jose draft pick coming down the middle. Ivan Shintsev, number 8, also a returning player, drafted by Tampa, their 3rd pick in 1994. Back on the blue line, again, experienced Dmitry Ryabkin, a Calgary Flames draft pick. He's 19 years old, plays for Dynamo. Also number 5, Alexei Vasiliev, a New York Rangers draft pick. In goal, Alexei Igorov will get the start. He is not drafted, 19 years old, plays for Kimmich in the Russian Elite League. Starting lineups brought to you by 3M Canada. Imagining the unthinkable and developing the unknown. That is 3M innovation at work. Elimination round, Finland and Russia coming up.
It's out there, waiting on your steps, your sidewalk, your driveway. It's ice. It laughs at rock salt. It fears only heat. Introducing new driveway heat from Prestone. Each concentrated pellet heats up like a furnace to melt 5 times more ice than rock salt with no white powdery residue. Put your driveway in the Prestone zone with new driveway heat and kiss your ice goodbye.
Defending champion Nebraska and unbeaten Florida are on a collision course. Get set for a showcase to decide U.S. college football supremacy. The Fiesta Bowl. Go deep. Tuesday on TSN.
Hi, I'm Doug Paulson, and this is Sport Diver.
Explore the unseen underworld on Sport Diver, Fridays, TSN.
TSN and Canadian Hockey are proud to present exclusive coverage of the 1996 World Junior Hockey Championship from Mullen Center in Amherst, Massachusetts. Brought to you by Air Canada, the official airline of Canada's national passion. By Imperial Oil and Esso Retailers and Associates Coast to Coast. And by Royal Bank, taking care of financial needs one customer at a time.
And welcome back. We are all set to go. Russia is in red. Big surprise there. The Finns are dressed in white. And we are underway. Elimination round game. Winner of this game will move on to face Canada in the semifinal. And the other semifinal will feature the Czech Republic and Sweden, which earlier today eliminated the U.S. from the tournament. Or at least from medal round play. They will puck knocked down there in front by Kiprasov. Koroluk up there after it. He's a San Jose draft pick. Talked about him earlier. Okotnikov drops it all the way back into his own end. Vasiliev for Okotnikov. 19-year-old returnee, played in the tournament last year. Morozov flips it up ahead. Niemi knocks it back up for Finland. This is Alexei Zuzin, rated to go top 10 in the upcoming NHL draft. He wears number 4. Puck knocked out in front, back to the line. This is Rajamäki. He fires it up there. Rajamäki, the Toronto Maple Leafs draft pick. Riihijärvi after it, number 17 for Finland. He's going towards the front of the net now. Riihijärvi trying to get loose. There's the pass to him. He's got it now. Riihijärvi being watched by Shakyakov. Gets it out in front. And the puck just flipped up off the boards. Niemi with it now for Finland. Riihijärvi just tipping it in there, and Harry Rendell, the Finnish coach, will change him up. Just underway, Finland and Russia, no score in this elimination round game. Teravainen slides it all the way back for Lauman. And offside called on Russia. And the referee is Mark Jeanette, a Canadian. On the lines, Kent Knudsen, a Swede, and Vaclav Chesky from the Czech Republic.
Well, each of these two teams have had one good scoring opportunity early on. A little sustained pressure there for Coach Harry Rendell's team. Finland gaining the blue line, and big Teemu Ria Harvey, the San Jose draft pick, is all around the net. Igor Dmitriev, head coach of the Russian national junior team, he is looking for his team to start coming together. He's just not sure when they will or if they will. They played a better game against Sweden in a 5-2 win. Then they laced Germany, finished second place in that division, in Pool B. But he doesn't believe that they've really come together as a team yet. They've got some great individual talent out there.
And like his mentor, Viktor Tikhonov likes to stand in front of the players along the bench. You still see a lot of European coaches do that.
Old habits die hard. When the wall came down, the Iron Curtain is gone, but they still like to stand in front of the bench.
Yepen Shitsev cutting up there. Comes all the way around, sends it out in front. It's swept away by Salonen, and he will give chase. Zimakov after it as well. Zimakov ridden into the boards heavily there by Salonen. Back at the line. Poland shoots it up there. That's knocked away by Igorov. And Klebakin will start back. Tampa Bay draft pick. Klebakin gets it ahead. Shalami moving towards the front of the net. He was dumped in a penalty coming up. Sergei Shalami was moving towards the front of the goal and was pulled down on the way in. So Russia will pick up the first power play chance of the hockey game.
That's going to be a hooking penalty. You called it, Paul. Shalami going to the net. Actually, it's going to be interference. Finns were back checking. Number 2, Pulani, who brought his man down on the back check. What amounted to a 3-on-2. That's the tail end of it, with Shalame going into the net. Down at the other end, good shot from the blue line, and a good job there by Ziminov, number 11, to take his man out of the play. Mentioned number 4, the Russian defenseman Zuzin, who's very highly rated for the draft. Ziminov is not as highly rated, but a lot of NHL scouts very impressed with his performance in this tournament. He's a very physical defenseman. We saw that there.
2 players to watch rated for the draft. Zuzin, who wears number 4, and number 28, Andrei Petrunin, who's out there now on the right wing. He's out there for the power play. Petrunin is down low in the corner and moving towards the front of the net. Lushinkin with it. Lushinkin trying to drop it back towards the blue line. Gets it back. Vasiliev shooting it. Nice grab. Knocked away by Kiprasov and cleared down the ice by Yarventi.
Paul, the other member of that line to keep an eye on out there, of course, is number 27, the 17-year-old sensation, Sergei Samsonov. He hasn't cut loose yet, but a lot of people are still waiting for it.
Here comes Samsonov. He has 2 goals so far in the tournament. And Samsonov, 17 years old, will not be eligible for the upcoming draft. Right now, they're calling him a lock for number 1 in the 1997 draft.
He would be the Russian equivalent of Daniel Cleary. Great 17-year-old from the Belleville Bulls.
Samsonov up after it. Puck knocked away from him. Petrunin trying to get it out to Samsonov. And Zuzin not able to keep it in. And Samsonov and Petrunin both hustle to the bench. Igor Dmitriev will change him up on the power play. 45 seconds to go in the man advantage. Russia and Finland elimination round play 0-0 in the hockey game. Melyakov up after it, couldn't come up with the puck. Ryabkin back at the blue line, number 16. Ryabkin moves it up. Korolak is open on the near side. He'll give chase. Korolak into the corner. Puck taken away by Rayamaki. Petrikov for Russia, number 29 along the boards. Niemi watching him. Melyakov gets it back to the blue line. Ryabkin moves it up. Korolak is open on the right side. Ryabkin with it back at the line, just fires it back to the corner. The penalized player is back on. And as you so often see on a Russian power play, they like to work it around and look for that one excellent scoring chance, as opposed to low percentage shots from the perimeter.
Wouldn't want to shoot the puck.
Puck down into the corner. Korolak after it. And here's Petrikov, centers it across. Melyukov going after it. Melyukov still, number 22. Back up to the line. The teams are back at even strength, by the way, although you couldn't tell the way the Russians are controlling play down in Finnish territory. And Alomo just gets the puck down the ice, and a chance for Finland to regroup. Icing call. 0-0.
Where's that baby? I brought you a little supper. A little something. A little yummy.
Great, thanks.
A little goodie.
Good news for anyone who's ever eaten for two. The same medicine you keep handy for upset stomach and diarrhea also comforts indigestion.
I never knew that.
As Pepto-Bismol coats, it relieves upset stomach caused by too much food and drink.
How's my baby?
Much better, thanks.
When you overdo it, take comfort in Pepto.
The 1996 World Junior Hockey Championship is brought to you in part by Chrysler Canada. At Chrysler, we're not just building cars, we're building Canada.
And welcome back. I'm Paul Romanuk along with Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller. Happy New Year. Hope you're taking it easy today, enjoying a great afternoon of hockey. Zimakov fires it in, and it's grabbed by Kiprasov. He will hang on to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, if you've got a headache today on New Year's Day, this is the place to be. You want to be here live because this is the quietest hockey arena I have ever been in my life.
This is like doing a game in the studio.
It's a terrific facility here at UMass in Amherst, home of the Minutemen. But not very many people here. A couple hours ago, there were considerably more for the U.S.-Sweden game, which was won, of course, by Sweden. It was about double that. For the U.S.-Sweden game, still a disappointing crowd.
Icing called on Finland. Played 5 minutes and 49 seconds of the first period. Elimination round game between Finland and Russia. Canada will play the winner of this game in the semifinal on Wednesday.
Well, Harry Rendell is a school teacher by occupation. Played for years in the Finnish Elite League with a number of teams, including IFK Helsinki.
His assistant is Timo Sutinen, who was the head coach of Finland's under-18 team. Or pardon me, the head coach of Finland's team that won the European Junior Championship. Buraverta fires one in, big rebound, hops out in front of the net, scores! Salpa! Jani Salpa, number 27, makes it 1-0 Finland.
Well, the goal was scored right in front of Igorov, but I'll tell you, the initial play that made it all possible was back at the Finnish blue line when number 2, Petro Chinin, the defenseman, fell down and allowed Guaverta to come up, gain the blue line, fire the shot, and come in and pick up his own rebound, drive it to the net, and get it over to Salpa, who backhands it by Igorov. The Russians in an outman situation because their defenseman just fell and stumbled. Petro Chinin back at the Finnish blue line. The Finns get a big boost here early on against a team that they've had a real difficult time winning again. Have not scored a victory over the Russians in national junior competition for 5 years.
Salpa gets the goal. Buraverta picks up the only assist at 5:59. But the best Finland has been able to manage against Russia in recent time, you go back to 1993 in a 1-1 tie. So Finland grabs the lead. Puhakka trying to get it in front. Working it into the corner. Jokinen, number 10. Played a strong game yesterday against the U.S., did Jokinen. Liedman after it. Drops it down back in the net. Kallio trying to get it in front. Yaraventi trying to fire the puck in there. Finally, Kallio will flip it in, and Finland will change him up in the go. We have played 7 minutes of the opening period, 1-0, Finland leading. Salpa with the goal for Finland at 5:59, his first of the tournament. Hirvonen up after it. Couldn't control the puck. Finally, Hirvonen will just lob it in. Igorov drops it off. Luchinkin Just fires it all the way down the ice, and icing is called on Russia. Samsonov out there, but hasn't done much so far.
You could win a trip for two to Vienna by voting for the Canadian Hockey Awards. The Jean Beliveau Award honors the player. The nominees are Randy Gregg, Wayne Gretzky, and Paul Kariya. Ballots and contest details available at Esso Retailers and Associates and TSN on the internet. Vote today.
And welcome back. Finland and Russia, first period action. And Finland grabbing the lead at 5:59. Yanni Salpa gets the goal. Elomo, weak shot in there. Igorov knocks it away. Hirvonen, number 11 in the corner. Puck comes around. Samsonov with it along the boards, battling Rihiarvi. Niemi fires it up there. It's grabbed and held by Igorov.
Well, the young line, I call it that because Samsonov is just 17 years old. Andrei Petrunin, another young player just eligible for this year's draft, and they've got Luchinkin moved into the middle there on that line, having a tough time in their own end, as young players are wont to do sometimes. Samsonov was spectacular last year with the Central Army touring team in Southern Ontario. He and Petrunin, people flocked to the arenas all over Southern Ontario to see these sensational players.
Off the draw, puck wired just wide by Tervainen.
Well, there's a big difference between this tournament and a junior tournament playing against Tier 2 teams in Southern Ontario. And I think Samsonov has found that out, and along with Petrunin and some of the other young players in this tournament.
Well, we were talking about this earlier today. I can't think of a 17-year-old that has played in the World Junior Championship and dominated the tournament. Really been a huge star. There are 17-year-olds who've looked good on their respective team. Brendan Shanahan is a guy who comes to mind with Canada. But to dominate the tournament, Forsberg didn't do it. Lindros didn't do it. They had to wait till they were 18, 19 before they really became tournament stars. Tervainen fires it up ahead. Salonen goes after it. Here comes Korolak, San Jose draft pick. And he was the leading scorer on the team last year with 10 points, had 8 goals. Puck moved in there by Lauminen. And Korolak will start out a game. Korolak flips it up ahead. Petrakov went after it, knocked back up by Petrolainen. Zimakov for Russia. And Petrolainen comes back, long shot, blockered away there by Igorov. Zimakov trying to get it loose, gets it around to Okhotnikov, and he's knocked to the ice. Salpa after it, and they'll just tie it up. We'll get a face-off down in Russian territory, and a little bit of posturing there along the boards. Number 24, Alexei Mozarov, with a few words to say.
Well, Salpa, the young Finnish forward, comes in, does a good job on the forecheck. Easily could have been picked up for a hit from behind on number 6, Okhotnikov. Very fortunate to escape a penalty in that situation. The Finns trying to be aggressive here. The Finns have been a much more cohesive team in this tournament than the Russians. We're seeing this early on here.
Puhaka fires it up in front. Big stop by Igorov. His nicest save of the game on Tommy Kallio. Kallio was all alone in front and suddenly found himself at the puck. Yaroventi fires it up. Jokinen rubbed it along the boards there by Novakov. And icing is called on Russia, but what a great chance for number 18, Tommy Kallio.
Kallio showed great patience. He's a draft pick of the Colorado Avalanche. 81st overall. It would make him a 4th round pick in the 1995 entry draft. And he stays in behind. The puck he thought was going to, a lot of the Russians thought the puck was going to be cleared out, so they started moving off ice. And offensive hockey players will sometimes, and Wayne Gretzky does this better than anybody, stay in the zone until the absolute last minute. And he did that, and it paid dividends for a good scoring opportunity. But Igorov came up with a big save.
Alexei Vasilyev was the defenseman who he had managed to sneak in behind. Vasilyev was the closest, but still wasn't able to make a play. It was up to the goaltender, and Igorov with a nice stop. Okotnikov. Pardon me, that's Klevakin. He couldn't get loose, and back the other way comes Alomo. Ryabkin tied him up. Here's Rayamaki. Long shot. Riiarvi trying to get to it. Number 17 for Finland up back of the net. He's knocked to the ice. Zuzin back there to play it out for Russia. Had his pocket picked there. Alomo gets it out in front. Hirvonen down in the corner. He's got Alomo back of the net and moving around towards the front of the net. This is Zuzin. Riiarvi racing over to pick it up. Had Alomo in front and actually got tangled up there with a glove that was sitting on the ice, and Riiarvi lost that puck. Icing is called on Russia.
Well, Teemu Riiarvi is a big, lanky winger, chosen in the first round by the San Jose Sharks last year, and that was a little earlier than most of the scouts thought he was going to go. The Sharks obviously saw something. I mean, he's a big European who's not afraid to use his size and strength to advantage. Can play very aggressively here. He's just about a month back from coming back from knee surgery. Drives the net and gets a couple of good scoring chances on that last shift.
This is Samsonov. Gained the blue line there, but couldn't get the puck across to Petrunen. Teams at even strength. We passed the halfway point of the first period. Finland leading 1-0. Jani Salpa with the goal for Finland. In this elimination round game at the World Junior Hockey Championship, the winner will face Canada in the semifinal. Zimakov got to the hash marks. Fired that one up around the glass. Here's Samsonov. Kuki was watching him. Petrunen looking for number 28. He was spun around. Okotnikov, number 6 for Russia. Teravainen clears it back in. Here's Zimakov. Another 17-year-old on this Russian team. Long pass from Malyakov. A little bit too far for Korolak. And icing is called on Russia.
The future just keeps coming at you. I think about kids today, those video games they play. Every year, a new generation, more advanced. Well, this is the next generation of power. Renewal from Rayovac. They're alkaline, like regular batteries, but more advanced. You can renew them, reuse them, instead of just throwing them out. They don't just come back, they come back strong. Play it smart. Rayovac Renewal.
Bob Clarke, the Philadelphia Flyers GM. Lots of room to spread out. Have a seat and watch this one.
Well, he obviously had some success against the Russians in his time, the great 1972 Summit Series, of course, and then there was that great game at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Bobby Clarke, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Russians, well, they were going home. They came back. That's what we need out there right now, is we need Ed Van Impe out there, just putting a sticker on some Russian's neck and get things going here. Old-time Hawks.
Was that ever? And immortalized by the great Bob Cole. They're going home. Here comes Korolak. Trying to tap it across in front of the net. Lauminen couldn't get that shot on goal. Puck stolen by Salpa. He has the goal for Finland. In front, puck fired on goal by Buraverta. Buraverta combining earlier with Salpa for the only goal of the hockey game. And they worked well there once again. Icing called on Russia.
Another good scoring opportunity for the Finns. Salpa's already got one goal in this game, and as his line was out there buzzing all around the Russian net. Egorov had to come up with another good save. Again, they're just taking the Russians right off the puck. Good forechecking. Petrunin gives up the puck. And Salpa wraps around, gets it back out to number 22, Veraverta. Veraverta puts it on the goal. Good chance.
Morozov cleared it out to center, fired right back in there by Yarventi. Ryabkin gets a crisp pass up there to Morozov, stepping in and offside. Ruslan Shafikov lost his balance at the blue line and tumbled in offside. He's a Philadelphia Flyers draft pick.
And Alexei Morozov, a Pittsburgh Penguin draft pick, 24th overall in the 1995 entry draft. He plays on a line with Dmitry Nabokov, Chicago Blackhawks first rounder, 19th overall. Those two guys were like an entry last year in the entry draft. Everybody knew they would go sometimes mid to late first round and wondered where and to whom, and which one would go first.
Two-line pass called there.
Morozov is more of the big physical kind of plugger with some offensive skill. Nabokov, a little more of a pure skill player, but still with some pretty good grit himself.
And here's a guy who should go, although not likely in the first round, Tony Liedman, an 18-year-old. He's the leading scorer on the Finnish team that won the European Junior Championship. Liedman with it now. And he'll wind his way up to the line and just chop it in. Puhaka up there after it. Puck back in front, flying through there is Jokinen. Jokinen trying to get loose. Kallio with the puck. Up for Jokinen, went by him. Ryabkin hustling after it for Russia. Contending there with Puhaka along the boards. Jokinen just clears it back in, and Finland will hurry in a line change. Novikov. Stopped up there at center. Hirvonen was looking for it. And now the Russians will get into change. Puck fired up around the boards by Rajamäki. Here's Zimakov. Morozov dumps it in. This is Niemi. Gets it up to Rajamäki. And Alomo couldn't catch up to it. Zimakov coming back for Russia, gets it up ahead, walking in, Klevakin, backhand shot, that was stopped by Kiprasov. And Hirvonen picks it up for Finland. And he's got a little bit of room, and he will start back. A little pick was there, run by his teammate Niemi down in the corner. This is Riihijärvi trying to come in. He overskates it. Shalami starting back. Puck tipped towards the net by Teravainen. He'll go after it in the corner. He and Petroshinin after the puck. Ipanchisev trying to come out. Here's Kuki. Puck fired, rebound comes out in front, and Teravainen couldn't get his stick on it. Petrunin looking for a little help. Samsonov was up there with him, but he couldn't get it to him. Vasilyev works it across. Okotnikov clears it up. Here's Petrunin walking in. And that is grabbed and held by Kiprasov. Finland leading 1-0. Jani Sapa with the only goal of this hockey game.
Remember what it was like being a kid, dreaming of greatness. Playing for Canada, wearing the maple leaf. The honor, the pride, the excitement of scoring that winning goal. Be a part of Team Canada today. Order your Canadian hockey jersey by Bauer. Order now and ask the operator about Canadian hockey's exciting new line of apparel.
That was a great goal, just like watching Gretzky and Lemieux all over again.
Alexei Egorov with a nice save there before Russia was able to carry it back the other way.
Well, he's been the best part of the Russian games in this first period. Timo Saladin, number 15, has a good shot. His line mate Tarvinen attempts to pick up this rebound just out of his reach. I have noticed Igorev does kick out some pretty fat rebounds, something for the Finns to work on as this game goes along. But right now, the Finns are playing inspired hockey, the Russians are not. Finns are playing physically, or some degree of physical hockey. Not physical in the sense of, we would say, in Canada. But the Russians aren't playing with any intensity whatsoever at this point, and looked like pretty half-hearted attempts. They spent more time falling down and diving than they have trying to get in the way of any bodies on the Finnish side.
Vasilyev clearing it up into the corner. Puck comes out to Petrunin. Number 28, Petrunin along the boards, trying to get it out to Lachinkin. Uraverde just knocks it in there for Finland. Makinen clears it in. Salpa up there looking for it. He'll just hang back. This is Samsonov. And he is upended. No penalty called.
I don't think that one was a dive. I'm surprised that the Canadian referee, Jeanette, didn't put his arm up for a tripping call on the Finns.
Petrunin trying to come in there with Samsonov. That's broken up. And this is Zuzin back to pick it up for Russia. Zuzin will turn back. Samsonov has left the ice. So too has Petrunin. Long pass up ahead. Petrikov coming in over the blue line. Looking, shoots, fired that one wide. Andrei Petrikov had a couple of players with him. He tries to get it in front again. Kiprasov knocking that away. Melyakov after it. Battling up there in the corner. Zuzin up there as well, but the Finns will start back. Kallio's open on the left-hand side, but Puhakka couldn't get it to him. Offside called on Finland. Live at TSN, you're watching the World Junior Hockey Championship.
With 4 doors, tons of interior space, comfortably contoured seating, and a great stereo, the Neon sedan is a huge kick for cruising. While the Neon Coupe's 132 horsepower engine and fully independent suspension make it a real kick in the passing lane. Neon sedan or coupe, it's never middle of the road. Say hello to Neon at your Plymouth and Dodge dealers.
Well, Coach Igor Dmitriev's team can be very explosive, and a nice pass by Dmitry Ryabkin right up, splits the defense, and that's Petrikov who goes in. Finnish captain Järventie does a nice job here and forces the Petrikov out to the side. Bad angle shot. And the goaltender Kiprasov, the younger brother of Montreal Canadian defenseman Marco Kiprasov, comes up with the save.
Koroluk and Melyakov were both up there with Petrikov, but he elected to shoot. Puck up ahead, Riihijärvi, number 17, going after for Finland. Tapped away from him by Ryabkin. Melyakov coming back the other way. He stopped at the line there by Hirvonen. And here's Alomo starting back for Finland. Has Riihijärvi with him as they hit the line. Alomo walks up, fired it through, and that went off the post. Great chance for Alomo. And suddenly the sea parted and he was able to walk right in and get that chance. That'll show you what speed will do for you. Puck knocked across in front. Melyakov tried to get it on goal. Hirvonen for Finland gets it to Niemi. And just flips it out. And Finland will change him up in the go. Salonen almost gave it up there. Novikov up there. That's kicked away by Kiprasov. Morozov had the shot. Morozov going after it along the boards, number 24. Salonen tied him up briefly. Shafikov for Russia, all the way back into his own end to set things up. Tipped off there by Cookie. And Cookie rubbed along the boards. Zimakov trying to take it away from him. And Shafikov will carry out for Russia. Cookie in pursuit. Drops it all the way back. And Cookie just clearing it down the ice. Icing waved off. Petroshenin Moving it up ahead. Zimakov, number 11 for Russia, hits the line. Morozov is up there with him. Puck fired in wide by Ipanchisev. And icing is called on Finland. Under a minute to go in the first period. Finland with a 1-0 lead. Jani Salpa scored back at 5:59. The assist went to Juha Buraverta.
Well, stops at both ends just a couple of moments ago. Bad giveaway in the Finnish end. Giving the puck away, Timo Salonen, a forward, handling the puck back down by the hash marks. Unfortunately for the Russians, they couldn't get enough on that one. Mika Loma at the other end does a nice job of faking the shot and gives Zuzin, number 4, a bit of a lesson on how not to play defense. And Olomo's shot goes right between the legs and hits the far post. A great opportunity for the Washington Capitol first rounder, who made Zuzin, who's eligible for this year's draft, just look sick at the blue line with that head fake and the fake shot.
Plevakin gets it over. Puck fired on goal by Sergei Shalame. And a nice grab by Kiprasov.
Kiprasov played an extremely strong game against Canada in that 3-1 loss. The third goal, of course, going into the empty net.
Shalame had that shot. He is listed at 5'7", 154 pounds. A draft pick of the LA Kings, and what I think happened is maybe the Kings drafted him sight unseen and it was in metric and they messed up the conversion or something.
Well, you just never know. A lot of times you throw the heights and weights away from the Russians because even a 155-pound Russian is so strong. Great upper body strength.
Yeah, I say that tongue-in-cheek. He's a very talented hockey player, and he was a late draft pick as well. Not like they took him in the first round or anything. Samsonov is out there. Number 27 coming over into the fray along the boards. Kiprasov just tees it up into the corner. Plevakin with it. Played in the tournament last year. It was against Sweden and Germany. Puck knocked down in front, fired wide there by Jokinen. How many tournaments have we seen over the years, World Junior and World Championship, where Russia starts off slowly, or the USSR as the case may be, and then comes on at the end in the medal game when it counts?
Somebody better go down and tell him, Igor Dmitriev, this is a game that will advance him into the medal round.
Yeah, because they're not showing much spark right now. You are right on. Riihijärvi up after for Finland. Morozov has it tapped away from him. Kiprasov plays it up around the boards. Hirvonen couldn't get it out. Knocked down by Zuzin. Shooting it. Fired that one wide. And play whistle down. A penalty coming up.
The net's off the mooring.
Check that. Yeah, there is no penalty. The net was dislodged. Between the boards in the first period, only one power play. It went to Russia, 0 for 1. Teams even in face-offs. And note the lack of hits. Between the boards, brought to you by the Gillette Series, the best a man can get.
Well, that level of hitting about typical for two teams like the Finns and the Russians when they're playing each other. When Canada plays either one of these teams, either one of them are more liable to have significant more number of hits than they've had so far in this game.
Puck cleared in. And the net dislodged at the other end. Igorov replaces it. Here's Kuki. Leaving it there for Laumanen. And Laumanen will start back. Taps it up ahead. Salonen battling his way up to the line. And just got the puck in. Not for long, though. Now it's fired in again by Laumanen. And Finland will change him up in the go. Pass up ahead for Novikov. He lets it go. Would have been a two-line pass in any event. Icing called on Russia.
Well, Nabokov reached for that puck but couldn't get it. As a result, it's icing. Blackhawks first round pick in the draft, and watching him here today is Bob Fulford, the general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks. Can't like what he sees so far. Nabokov and Morozov, the two big first rounders, Chicago and Pittsburgh respectively, have not come to play here so far. They were a little more inspired against the Swedes in their 5-2 win in Springfield a few days back.
Riihijärvi gets it up back in the net. Minkinen trying to get it in front. Number 26 for Finland. He's squeezed out of the play. And Zimakov has control for Russia. Kulani trying to come back in. Puck knocked down in front. Salpa with a shot. That stop. Rebound in front. Petrosinin pushes at it for Russia to get it away. And Shalame clears the puck down into Finnish territory. Salpa, once again, right out there in the thick of things. He and Vuorivirta have looked very strong in this game, combining for the only goal of the hockey game. Akatnikov taps it around for Zimakov, who will start back. Number 11 for the Russians. Long pass up ahead. Klevakin coming in. Looking towards the front of the net. He has Shalame up there with him. Klevakin upended before he could make any kind of a play, however, and Jokinen ricochets it off the boards to Puhaka. This is Kallio. And Kallio got it on net, then it was handed away, they scored!
The net is off the moorings. The net is off the moorings. The whistle blew, and the linesman is now telling the referee that it's no goal.
The referee pointed towards the net, but you could definitely hear a whistle. Juho Jokinen had the chance. Listen here for the whistle. You hear it before the puck goes in.
Oh, it was pretty darn close. The net was definitely off the moorings when the puck went in. The Finns are only now realizing that it's no goal. The linesman is lining it up. Now coming over for an explanation.
You see, that was so close, I wasn't sure whether the whistle was going for the puck.
There, the net's off the moorings.
It's off right there, but the whistle didn't go there.
Exactly. That's one of those ones where the linesman knows in his mind that he's blowing the whistle. In his mind, the net came off the moorings before. Even if the whistle didn't go before the puck went in the net, the linesman convinced, hey, I made the call before the goal was scored.
But often a referee will blow the whistle to signal a goal, especially in international hockey. And especially in a quiet building like this, you can hear it quite clearly. And I wasn't sure whether he was blowing the whistle to signal a goal, although you're right, there's no question the net was knocked off.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
So no goal. After a terrible giveaway there by the Russian goaltender, Igorov just handed the puck away to Juho Jokinen. Remains 1-0 Finland, however.
Hey, it's your choice. For 96 cents with beverage purchase, you can have juicy meatballs on fresh baked bread with marinara sauce and loads of fresh cut fixins in a sandwich made right before your eyes, or a pre-made burger. Want to see it again? No problem. So what's it going to be? Hurry in. Subway's meatball sub is just 96 cents with beverage purchase for a limited time.
The 1996 World Junior Hockey Championship is brought to you in part by Subway, the place where fresh is the taste.
It is 1-0, Finland leading Russia in this elimination round game at the World Junior Hockey Championship. The only goal scored back at 5:59 of the first period by Jani Salpa. I'm Paul Romanuk along with Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller. And great to have you with us on this New Year's Day. It's been a fine day of hockey. Scores! Rajamäki off the face-off on a weak shot from the blue line.
Well, judging by the reaction on Igorov's face, he never saw this puck come through the crowd in front of him. Tommy Rajamäki, a Toronto Maple Leaf draft pick, who had a chance to tie the game up against Canada and launched a shot over the net, kept this one low right along the ice. The draw is won, and it's number 17, Ria Harvey, who puts it back to him. And Igorov doesn't even see that one. Koroluk loses the draw. There's the shot, and it was a deflection. It was a deflection off the pant of one of the Russian defenders in front. A big change in direction, and that's why Igorov looked as surprised as he did. It wasn't a particularly hard shot, but there was a big change of direction off the pant. Really off the hip of one of the Russian defensemen. That disallowed goal, they get that one back, and it's 2-0 for the Finns.
They announce it as an unassisted goal. Rajamäki at 3:54. And it is 2-0 in favor of Finland. Remember, Finland has not beaten Russia at the World Junior Tournament since 1987, a 5-4 win.
That's right, and in 1987, Finland won the gold medal that year, although it was a bit of a tainted gold because that was the year, of course, of the Piestany punch-up when Canada and Russia were disqualified when the lights were turned out. Incidentally, I was wondering why the lights weren't turned out for that Ukraine-Switzerland scrap the other night.
Zimakov clears it up ahead. Shapnikov shoots. He had lots of time to set up. Rebound at the side, scores! On the rebound, and Russia gets on the scoreboard. It is 2-1, Finland leading.
Well, Finland gets very sloppy in their own end. And the goaltender Kiprusoff kicks out a big rebound. The line of Morozov, Shapikov, and Nabokov up there doing some work. There's the initial shot by Shapikov. The rebound comes back out, tipped over by Shapikov and knocked in by Morozov. Knocks it right out of the air. Good eye-hand coordination. Just a wild swing by the Finns to try and clear that puck out of their own end. You got a bouncing puck like that in front of your net, you just can't swing wildly at it. You got to get your body behind it. Try to block it.
The goal coming from Morozov 34 seconds after Rajamäki had given Finland a 2-0 lead. Morozov gets the goal. Shapikov picks up an assist, as does Nabokov.
Assisted by number 23, and number 19,
Salpa gets it up ahead. Roberta up along the boards, number 22 for Finland. Pushing it back. Puolani shoots one in. That's knocked down. Rebound came out in front there. Menkinen was looking for it. Here's Klevakin. Gets by him. Up ahead. Epenshinsev coming in. And being watched there by Lidman. This is Samsonov, number 27, looking for a bit of room. Epenshinsev trying to center it out in front. Had Klevakin parked out there. Here's Klevakin, fanned on that one. And Puhakka will start back for Finland. Taps it up ahead. Kallio in over the blue line. Puhakka is with him going for the front of the net. Here's Puhakka in the corner, battling with Zuzin. Järventie with a shot. Klevakin goes after it, and play is called. A penalty coming up. And we will sort that out for you, and it's going to be a hooking call.
How far to go, William? How far is far, Jack? Good. Someday this will be the world's longest undefended border. Undefended against what? Well, the people over there, let's call them Americans. They'll flock here on vacation, marvel at how clean everything is. And when they ask for a beer, they'll discover what incredibly good beer we'll brew. Our true Canadian lager. Exactly. What will they give us in return? Something called Baywatch.
Well, Andre Zuzin, who's expected to be a high pick in this year's NHL entry draft, goes off for hooking. 5:54. Man tries to get away from him. Actually pretty innocent. He was doing some hooking before that. The reason that player fell, though, is because he lost his balance. He wasn't hauled to the ice. And anytime you got your stick up around somebody else's arm and elbow and the player ends up going down, you're going to be in a position where you're going to get called.
So Finland on the power play with a 2-1 lead. Rajamäki clears it up into the corner. Riihijärvi up there after it. Had it pulled away by Koroluk. And Koroluk will start back, gets it outside the blue line, number 12 there for Russia. Played back up. Riihijärvi going after it. A minute and a half to go on the power play for Finland. Finland leading this elimination game over Russia by a score of 2-0. Hirvonen clears the puck up, number 11 up there after it. Petrosinin clears it back along the boards. Moving up, Rajamäki shoots, wired that one in. He had Niemi parked down in front, and Niemi goes right back to the slot for Finland and trying to hoe that puck loose. And Melyakov gets the puck down the ice for Russia. Less than a minute to go in the power play. Shapikov after it. Melyakov will steal, coming up short-handed. And he'll just eat up some time. Okhotnikov clears it down into Finnish territory with 40 seconds to go on the man advantage for the Finns. Teravainen up to the line. Just golfs that in. Teravainen up after it. So Salonen. And the puck gets by everybody and out, and streaking up after it is Nabokov. And Nabokov couldn't quite get away, but he'll eat up some time there along the boards. Lauminen just chips that puck in. And that will about do it for the Finnish power play. Finland gets one shot on goal during that man advantage. And that was its first power play chance of the hockey game. This is Klevakin, finds a bit of road, comes up there. Klevakin centers it in front, scores! Tie game! Alexei Zuzin.
Well, better late than never. Zuzin coming out of the penalty box directly onto the ice. I thought Klevakin missed the moment when he could have passed that puck over to Zuzin, who was wide open on the 2-on-1. But Klevakin, the Tampa Bay Lightning draft pick, held on, and still found a way to get it around the Finnish defenseman, number 3, Petrolainen. And a good job by Zuzin. One of the reasons the scouts like this young defenseman is because he's so assertive. He's not afraid to jump up in the play and try to make something happen. And he reaches around and just plucks that puck out from in front of the sliding Finn. Number 28, Petrunen on his, 28, Lauminen coming back.
And back in off the draw, puck fired up there by Samsonov. He almost walked in and did it himself right off the faceoff. So Sergei Samsonov with a good chance there. Ivan Chintsev trying to dig it loose for Russia, number 8. And suddenly it's Russia with some jump. A penalty coming up. It's going to go against Finland. It will be a high sticking call against number 8, Matti Jaravetti.
You're looking at one Canadian.
What am I doing? I don't know how to kayak. I'm learning how. That's what I'm doing.
She's the reason Royal Bank is working towards barrier-free access in every one of its branches. Now, it may not be necessary for all our customers, but we got to be Canada's largest bank, one customer at a time.
Matti Jaravetti going to the penalty box for high sticking. Russia will go on the power play for the second time today.
Oh, the captain of the Finns is in there checking his man Klevakin and Ivan Chintsev. There's the hit from behind, and here comes the high stick right there. Gets his stick right up into the face of Vadim Ivan Chintsev, one of 2 Tampa Bay Lightning draft picks who play on the same line. And now Sergei Samsonov has been moved onto that line with these 2 players. Coach Igor Dmitriev did this later in the Finnish game, game against Sweden rather, last time. He's obviously trying to get Samsonov going.
On the second goal by Team Finland, scored by number 4, Tony.
So it's a Russian power play.
To number 11, Tony Girvonen.
And it's Ivan Chintsev taking the face-off. Samsonov in the left wing. And Klevakin over on the right wing for this power play. Back to Zuzin. Zuzin gets it over. Klevakin shoots, and a nice stop by Kiprasov. We saw this in the game against Canada as well. Kiprasov likes to come out and challenge when he can, and a good example of it there, and a nice stop.
Well, lots of business being conducted here at the World Junior Championships, not all that having to do with the World Junior Championships. Pierre Gauthier, general manager, new general manager of the Ottawa Sevens, Ottawa Senators. Hey, he's got Alexei Yashin signed and back in the lineup. Now he's talking to Tom Laidlaw, the former NHL defenseman, who is a representative, player rep with the IMG Corporation, who handles hockey players. Chiefly, in this case, Brian Berard, the number 1 overall pick. The Ottawa Senators in last year's entry draft, and a guy that could not come to terms with the Senators, and as a result must play junior hockey for the balance of this season. I'm sure Gauthier will be doing everything he can to work out a contract for Brian Berard, so that Berard will be in the Senators lineup next season.
I know you've written about it, but it bears repeating. You get the feeling maybe, just maybe, things are starting to turn around in Ottawa, turn around for the better.
Well, Gauthier's a good man, and some of the building blocks are already there. There's a lot of work that has to be done, but it's probably not as bleak a situation as a lot of people think it is.
Here's Zuzin. Ivan Shintsev was going towards the front of the net. Still 1:10 to go on the power play for Russia. A 2-2 hockey game. Finland led early in this period by a score of 2-0, but Russia bounding back with 2 goals in about 4 minutes. Morozov and Zuzin both scoring. Ivan Shintsev gets it up ahead. Ryabkin clears the puck in for Russia. Petrunin up in the corner, number 28. And pouncing on it is Alomo, but he can't get it out. Ivan Shintsev centers it in front, scores! Samsonov! Sergei Samsonov puts Russia up 3-2.
Well, a terrific move by the 17-year-old offensive sensation. That's his first goal against real competition in this tournament. He scored 2 against Germany in a Russian rout of the Germans. But a nice job by Ivan Shintsev, number 8, to get this puck out to him. And instead of rifling that shot right away, he shows great patience and just dances around. Samsonov does what he does best, the right-hand shot left winger. Makes the move, beats Kiprusoff, goes to his back end. Nice pass by Vadim Ivan Shintsev, and very quickly the Russians have turned the table here on the Finns.
Ivan Shintsev and Zuzin pick up the assists.
Again, Paul Zuzin right up on the play, up forcing the issue. He kept that puck in at the corner, fired it around. Ivan Shintsev and put it back. Very impressive performance by Zuzin in this game.
Well, we talked about Alexei Zuzin off the top of the show. And depending on with whom you speak, scouts have him rated anywhere between top 3 to top 8. 8th is the lowest I've heard him being taken to people I've talked to. And Igorov will cover that up. So a brand new game as we hit the halfway point.
When Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake," did she mean McCain deep and delicious cake with a see-through dome that seals in the rich, moist flavor? So you can reseal it and put it back in the freezer until you just have to have another rich, moist piece. Try McCain Deep and Delicious Cake. With the resealable flavor of dome, you can let them eat cake again and again.
Sergei Samsonov, the go-ahead goal for Russia, makes it 3-2. Does a nice job of reading the situation, gets himself out where goal scorers are meant to be, and that is in the slot. Zuzin does a good job of keeping that puck into Ivan Shintsev. The Finns leave this guy all alone, and I'll tell you right now, over the course of the next few years, defensemen are going to learn not to leave Sergei Samsonov alone in front of the net. By all accounts, unless he falls flat in his face in the next year, and hey, anything's possible with kids this age, he will be the #1 overall pick in the 1997 NHL entry draft. Daniel Cleary, amongst others, will challenge him for that.
Puck fired off the drop. Here's Nabokov, first-round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. Gets it up ahead. Morozov, number 24, carrying it over the line. Tried to fire that one on goal, partially blocked. Morozov thumping into his man, Petrolainen, along the boards. Salpa in over the blue line. And not much further, at least with the puck. And Salpa got a piece of his man there. It appeared as though he tripped up Shapikov. Petrolainen clears it up. That's knocked down. And Morozov will start back. Morozov drops it off and heads towards the front of the net. Ryabkin clearing the puck in over the blue line. It is 3-2, Russia leading. Be sure to join us at the conclusion of this game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by UAP Napa Auto Parts stores across Canada.
At first glance, this muffler looks like most other mufflers, except for one important feature. Only UAP Napa mufflers meet the top quality standards of UAP Napa. UAP Napa, the right brand for the job.
Available at AutoPro and UAP Napa member installers.
Welcome back. It was 2-0 Finland early in the second period. Russia coming back with 3 goals in a span of about 5 minutes to take a 3-2 lead. The winner of this game will face Canada in the semifinal after a day off tomorrow. Here's Ryabkin, taps it across. Evgeny Shintsev going after it. Samsonov is out there again. He is being hot. Plevakin is the other line. Evgeny Shintsev, Plevakin, and Samsonov, sparking the Russian comeback. Here comes Zuzin. He scored the tying goal earlier in this period, has a goal and an assist so far in the game. Evgeny Shintsev trying to get it loose. Lidman starting back up very tentatively for Finland, moves it up ahead. Puhakka with it, steps in over the blue line, poked right away from him. Korolak coming back. Korolak trying to drive around the outside there on Yaroventi. Here's Samsonov along the boards. He's given a thump. Lidman stepped into him. Hirvonen, number 11, back for Finland. This is Korolak. Zimakov out through traffic there, pushing it up ahead. Here comes Petrunin on the way, hits the line, dropped it back for Samsonov. And couldn't get the shot away. Rihiarvi coming back, able to pull it off the stick. Samsonov hustles to the bench as Dmitriev completes his line change. Alomo after it. He'll step in now for Finland. And Alomo couldn't get to the outside. Rajamäki fires it up. Here's Niemi. Simakov takes the hack there from Alomo. And Korolak couldn't catch up with it there. This is Rajamäki for Finland, bouncing it in over the blue line. Alomo up there looking for it. For 21, couldn't pick it loose. And with a bit of speed is Petrunin, dropped it back there. Korolak up with him. That play's broken up. Rajamäki just flips it in and heads to the bench. Finnish coach Harry Rendell getting in some changes. Vasilyev clears it up ahead. This is Korolak ragging that puck a little bit, waiting for his teammates to catch up in the play. Akatnikov just clears it down in there for Russia, and that goes over 2 lines. Icing call. 3-2, Russia is leading. Samsonov with the go-ahead goal.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and hello. This is my beer commercial. Roll sound. My beer, Labatt Ginger Draft. The cast, those are my friends. This is Mike. Okay, cue the announcer.
Labatt Genuine Draft goes down easy because it's real draft.
Hello. Weird, huh? Weird, huh? A woman talking in a beer commercial? Okay, that's a wrap.
Marcel Como, head coach of Team Canada, doing a little scouting here along with Terry Bangan as assistant coach. And I don't think he's going to say it, but if I were him, I would much rather prefer meeting the Finns in the semifinal game than the Russians. And the reason is very simple. As much as every team tries to psych themselves up to play against Canada, the Russians, I think, can take their game to a higher level against Canada than almost any other team in this tournament, because the Russians are motivated by the National Hockey League. They're playing for contracts, they're playing to be drafted. And they know that if they can excel against the Canadian team, that is the highest standard by which you can be judged. And as a result, it's the game that the Russians are most likely to play at the top end.
Shafikov comes in over the blue line, knocked across there for Morozov. Akatnikov, number 6, carries it up there, looking towards the front of the net. Here's Vasilyev. And Kiprasov will hang on to that. Mika Kiprasov, draft pick of the San Jose Sharks, and looked very good against Canada.
He did, and the irony is that his backup in this game, Vesa Toskala, is also a draft pick of the San Jose Sharks, so both netminders drafted by the Sharks.
Your point about being evaluated against Canada and here at this tournament playing for general managers, bang on. You talk about different motivations. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, For a number of the teams who come here, those individual goals are more important than collectively going on to win it. And witness the situation right now with Sweden, where two of its best defensemen are going to be called back to go and play in the Elite League during a tournament like this, and the International Ice Hockey Federation isn't going to step in and arbitrate in a situation where they probably should.
No, they're not, but one of the players' agents is. Michael Barnett, who works for IMG. Wayne Gretzky's agent, among others, also represents Daniel Törnqvist of the Swedish national junior team. And Törnqvist has let his agent know that he's not really happy with the prospect of having to go back and play in a club team game. We'll see what happens.
Samsonov gets it across. Petrunin shoots one in there, and that is grabbed and held by Kiprasov.
Just to finish that thought, Paul, Michael Barnett is now interjected himself into this situation to try and prevent his client Daniel Törnqvist from having to go back and play for his club team and stay here and finish his commitment to the World Juniors. Andrei Petrunin comes down, takes a shot, goes end over end. Kiprasov could read the label on that one, but they're now trying to get Petrunin a little more ice time. They've seen Samsonov pick up his game a little bit. Zuzin also playing well. Now they want to get their other young guy going. Won't do that by diving, which he just did.
Yaraventi winding his way up to the line, long shot. Zimakov. It's funny when you look at the approach different countries show, it's almost the polar opposite. Canada's approach to the World Junior, very big. The tournament is huge in Canada, as witnessed by crowds. Not that important to the rest of the junior hockey world. The World Championship, on the other hand, massive importance in Europe and to all of the hockey world, really, except for Canada. All the emphasis there is in the Stanley Cup playoffs at that time of the year. We really don't care that much about the World Championship to the extent that we would stop league play in the NHL to send our best. And the Europeans can't figure that out. Just as we're mystified by the European approach at times to the World Junior.
The only time we truly care about the Senior World Championships is when we've got a shot at winning it. It's the Canadian way.
Puck comes up ahead. Malyakov in over the blue line. Got a little bit of room. Looking for Koroluk up there with him. Gets it across. Vasilyev rifled a low shot up. That was knocked down. He'll get a chance to reload. Fires this one up there. That was blocked in the way in. A nice play by Niemi to drop down in front of it. Here's a Lobo. Shoots. Kicked out. Rebound. Cleared up off the boards and out. And hustling up after it. Nabokov breakaway. He's stopped by Kiprasov. Dmitry Nabokov, the big first over #1 pick of the Chicago Blackhawks, their first pick in the last draft, with a great chance. And he was stymied by Mika Kiprasov. This is Hirvonen starting back. Vasilyev. Puck just cleared down the ice, and icing called on Russia. What a chance for Nabokov, and what a stop by Kiprasov.
Hey, it's your choice. For 96 cents with beverage purchase, you can have juicy meatballs on fresh-baked bread with marinara sauce and loads of fresh-cut fixins in a sandwich made right before your eyes, or a pre-made burger. Want to see it again? No problem. So what's it going to be? Hurry in. Subway's meatball sub is just 96 cents with beverage purchase for a limited time.
Mika Kiprasov comes up with a great save on a breakaway by Dmitry Nabokov. Nabokov one-on-one goes to the forehand for the deke, but Kiprasov follows him all the way and gets the big mid out there and makes the save. Nabokov was only onside on that play because Niemi, the Finnish defenseman #7, touched the puck on the way up. Otherwise, it was going to be a two-line pass. The linesman expected it to be offside, and then he saw Niemi fan on a shot to block it. Touched his stick, though, ever so slightly, and that waved off the offside.
Susan flipping at it, #4 for Russia. And Kuki on top of him gets it back along the boards. Lauminen shoots, and that is grabbed and held by Igorov.
Now, Igorov seems to be having a tough time tracking that puck coming in from the point. As Lauminen with a shot from the blue line Not a particularly hard one, but Egorov was trying to control his own rebound and then had a tough time getting his mid over top of the puck. There's the rebound laying out there for anybody who wants it, and he dives out and brings it back under him. Both these goaltenders giving up some pretty good rebounds directly in front of the net. And I know if I were a winger on either one of these teams, I'd be coming in, following up that initial shot on goal and looking for the rebound.
Under 2 minutes to go in the second period. Russia with a 3-2 lead. Finland had a 2-0 lead early in the second, but Russia coming back with 3 goals in a row. It's Mark Jeanette, the referee. He's a Canadian.
That would be your Canadian content for the day. Earlier game today, Sweden beat the United States 3-0. Empty net goal by Johan Davidsson. They go on to beat the Czechs. The winner of this game, of course, plays Canada on Wednesday in one of 2 semifinals.
Petrunin gets it up ahead. Petrunin knocked down for the second time in this shift. A rough one for him. Zimakov clears it up. Kallio with it for Finland. This is Jokinen. Tucking it up ahead there. Pohaka in over the blue line. Drops it back. Backhand shot there by Kallio. Kallio in front, shooting! He was stoned from point blank. The puck still loose. Kallio down there after it. Back at the line, here's Niemi with a shot. Pohaka goes after the puck along the boards. Couldn't get there in time. And Korolov coming back out for Russia, number 12, along with Petrunin. Petrunin walking in, scores! Andrei Petrunin. Moments after Tomi Kallio was stymied at the other end, and Russia goes up by a score of 4-2.
Well, you said it, Paul. Kallio misses at one end, and then the Finns get very aggressive on the pinch. They're in there forechecking. They had caught in deep, but watch right in center ice. There comes a man. Niemi comes in. He was trying to separate Korolek from the puck. Korolek just tapped the puck off the boards. Melnikov over to Petrunin, and Petrunin goes top shelf. Samsonov got his goal earlier. Zuzin got his goal. It's all the young bucks for the Russians scoring today. Petrunin, who's going to be a first-rounder this year, rifles that shot over the shoulder of Kiprasov. And the Russians have blown this one open a little bit. 4-2 in the final minute of the period after being down 2-0 in the first. Or rather, early in the second, they were down 2-0. Andrei Petrunin, Sergei Samsonov's running mate on the team, that Central Army team that toured Southern Ontario last year and earned rave notices, has really given a big setback here to Harry Rindell and the Finnish team.
Igor Melyakov picks up the assist on Andrei Petrunin's goal, and it is 4-2 for Russia. And the goal coming at 19:06, a killer, blowing a lead, and now another chance. Score! On his knees, Nabokov makes it 5-2.
Well, a terrific bit of forechecking work there by Morozov, number 24, and so much for Mika Kiprasov. Morozov made a great pass, gets the pack on a backhand pass, and on his knees, Nabokov just barely stops it, pretty much one-times it by Kiprasov, and now Toskala, another San Jose Shark draft pick, heads into play net with a balance of 40 or less than 40 seconds left in the period.
Time of the goal, 19 minutes, 21 seconds for the second period.
Great forechecking work by the Russians. Big Morozov uses his strength and leans on that stick. Nice backhand pass. Nabokov fires it past Kiprasov.
Number 30, Vesa Toskala.
Vesa Toskala is now in goal for Finland. And talk about letting it slip right through your fingers. Finland appeared to be in control early in the second period. Had a 2-0 lead, playing with confidence. the better team in the first period, certainly.
Well, I'll tell you, Paul, some things have never changed about Russian hockey, and the ability to score goals in bunches and to score them quickly, especially against an opponent, in this case, that seems so demoralized and so distraught over going down a couple of goals after being up by 2. Less than a minute left in the period, and they just basically quit.
Be curious to know whether or not Kiprusoff pulled himself or whether he was pulled. Watch him leave the net.
I don't believe that the coach has any time to say what's going on there. He says, that's it, I'm coming out. I've had enough. If Patrick Waugh couldn't do that, Mickey Kiprusoff shouldn't either.
Yep, you can see that in the replay. Kiprusoff just got up and kept on skating.
Well, in fairness to him, he quit a few seconds after his teammates did. Final minute of the period, they just allowed the Russians.
10 hits total by our unofficial count, scoring chances 13-10. Between the boards, brought to you by the Gillette Series, the best a man can get.
Pretty much guarantee you right now, Paul, that if the Russians go in to win this game and play Canada, they'll have a heck of a lot more than 10 hits in any game against Canada. Russians are a very interesting team. I use the word interesting, probably enigmatic is a much better word. You just never know exactly what you're going to get. We saw that from the first period to the second period. The first period, no inspiration, no heart, no desire, no physical play whatsoever. Second period, they start capitalizing on their opportunities. And they've got tremendous skill and the ability to roll up a score very quickly, especially if the other team lapses into a bit of a shell the way Finland did.
The thing that is even more amazing when you watch the Russians, and there's a bit of a delay, by the way, over at the Finnish bench. That's why things have slowed down here. Toskala losing an edge on his skate. The amazing thing about the Russians is when you consider all of the turmoil and upheaval that has gone on in what used to be the Soviet Union, the splintering, the economy crashing, the lack of money, the program being torn apart with players leaving to go to the NHL, and still they come to the World Junior Hockey Championship and the World Championship for that matter.
And the NHL for that matter, when you look at some of the Russian players in the National Hockey League.
And come in and dominate and compete for a gold medal. Puck fired in there by Niemi. Zuzin scored the tying goal for Russia in this game. Nabokov in over the blue line, had it knocked away. And now Nabokov will just fire it in. Rajamäki going after it. Didn't get there first. Puck knocked towards the front. Nabokov coming over there to pick it loose. Had Morozov in front of the net. Couldn't get it to him. Zuzin will clear it out. Nabokov in the corner, centered it out in front. Ryabkin couldn't get his stick on it, and back the other way comes Elomo for Finland. Elomo drives to the top of the slot, and the puck is cleared back out. Lotvonen working it across for Lauminen. Long shot. This is Zuzin for Russia. Lautovin clearing it up off the boards. Elomo going after it, throws it back out. Kuki with a shot, that's knocked away. Kuki in front of the net, backhand shot, fired it wide. Kuki with a couple of chances there. He'll go after it now against Samsonov in the corner. Back out to the line. Lauminen couldn't get it in on goal. Lotvonen, long pass up ahead. Here comes Vuorovirta. Petroshinin goes after it for Russia. He'll just clear it down the ice. And icing called on the Russians. We are early in the third period, and Russia with a 5-2 lead.
Juha Vuorovirta is a mouthful. Los Angeles Kings draft pick. Watching today, General Manager Sam McMaster of the Los Angeles Kings. He's the man who drafted Vuorovirta. Second World Junior Championship for Vuorovirta. Sam McMaster, well familiar with junior hockey. His days with the Sioux Greyhounds, Sudbury Wolves, worked a while for the Toronto Marlboros as well.
Petrunin clearing the puck in for Russia. Yaroventi with it. And he will start back. Shalami gets it up ahead. Melyakov trying to get loose. Jaraventi goes after for Finland. And the puck tapped up ahead there. Laumanen trying to come in over the blue line. Makinen up there after it. Riihijärvi, number 17, back for Makinen. Up for Riihijärvi. Puhakka trying to get loose as well. Now he'll pick it up. Here's Puhakka. Can't get to the front of the net. Being watched there by Korolak. Niemi flips it up ahead. Makinen coming in. And couldn't get the shot on goal. Petrunen will pick it up for Russia as the Finns get in a line change. Played about 3.5 minutes here in this third period. And it's 5-2, Russia leading Finland. Zimakov upended there, and Jokinen will start back in for Finland. Jokinen up there. Salonen was going for the front of the net. He's up there, picks it up. Here's Salonen. Trying to find a bit of room, but it's hard to find. The Russians, good coverage in their own end. Jokinen clears it up. Salonen goes after it in the corner. Kallio up there as well, as they cycle it around, but can't get it out in front. This is Morozov, works it across, puck fired on goal, rebound in front. Nabokov had the chance there, and Toskala, the new Finnish goaltender, coming on late in the second period and tested there with a nice stop. It is 5-2. Russia is leading. Finland needs some offense anytime.
Weather advisory, there is a winter storm watch in effect for the entire area today. Seems like it's only going to get worse. So look, if you don't have to be out there, please get off the roads.
Like flames from a fire.
The 1996 World Junior Hockey Championship is brought to you in part by GM Chevrolet. Tried, tested, and true.
I'm Paul Romanok along with Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller. And Happy New Year. Hope you've enjoyed a great day of hockey. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Dallas Stars earlier on today. And the U.S. also in action against Sweden. Saw parts of that game. Off the draw, the puck fired on goal by Teravainen. And Igorov tested there, holding on to it.
Oh, good job of winning the draw, getting it back. Teravainen, the big winger. Hirvonen wins that draw cleanly. But Igorov does a good job of controlling the rebound, and they'll try and do this one all over again. The same idea. Hirvonen, number 11, will try to get it back to Teravainen, number 20. Watch Elomo, number 21, go hard to the net.
Hirvonen up around back of the net. Elomo will go hard to the corner after it. Drops it back. Teravainen. Elomo up there after it. Epenchintsev coming in. Drops it to Samsonov. Epenchintsev cuts in front. Just fired it wide as he cut in front of Toskala. Epenchintsev couldn't get the shot away there. He'll battle after it. Number 8. Gets it up ahead now. Samsonov's in front. Bouncing puck. He just overskated it there. And back comes Elomo for Finland. Elomo on the way up there. Hirvonen with him. And couldn't take the pass. And the puck knocked away. Puck cleared up. Petrolainen just lets it go back. Here's Järventie. Järventie gets it up ahead. Kuki was in offside. Puck finally just flipped in there by Vuorivirta. Here's Petrunen. Melyakov trying to come in. Up for Petrunen. Works it across. Korolak was coming in, but broken up. Järventie starts it back for Finland. 5-2, Russia leading. And Korolak walks up, gets a shot. Koskela the save, and he will hang on to it. Alexander Koroluk allowed to weave his way right in tight on Vesa Toskala.
Well, Paul,
cover it up.
Well, Paul, at times in this tournament, we've been critical of European coaches for not coaching the way North Americans do, not coaching to win, not pulling the goaltenders, not shortening the bench. Igor Dmitriev today has made some very interesting adjustments to his lineup. He realized early on that some of his young guys, Petrunin and Samsonov, were going better, so he's moved Petrunin onto a line with Koroluk and Melyukov on the first unit, and now he's moved Samsonov onto that unit with that Ipan Chintsev and Klavakin, and then he's got this Nabokov.
Rebound in front of the net, and Shepikov almost flipped that in.
And just to go back to the thought, he has this line out here with Shapikov between Nabokov and Morozov, and he's gone down to 3 lines, so he realized the stakes, he realized who was playing hard and who wasn't. Shot taken from the point by number 5, Vasiliev, and Shapikov looks for that rebound and tries to drive it in, but a good job here by Dmitriev, recognizing which of his players are going today and making sure they're getting extra ice time.
Well, he apprenticed under Viktor Tikhonov with the national team for many, many years. And Tikhonov, unarguably, absolutely no question about it, the most successful international coach in the history of the game. Puck pounded up there. He won so many gold medals and world championships. Finland with some pressure. That's stopped by Igorov. Puck rolling up there. Lauminen looking for it. Comes back out. Rajamäki couldn't get it on goal. And Morozov starts back the other way. Nabokov with Morozov curling towards the net. And he is tripped up on the way up. A penalty coming up against Finland. It is going to be Antti Jussi-Niemi heading off.
This is it for the game.
Rob Clark, this is your Right Guard Sports Moment.
No matter how hard you push it, you don't have to sweat it. Not with the long-lasting protection of Right Guard Sports Stick. Even under the most grueling conditions, Right Guard Sports Stick works to keep you dry, confident, and odor-free. The continuous action formula of Right Guard Sports Stick.
Rob, come on, relate.
Right Guard Sports Stick, right there when you need it.
You could win a trip or two to Vienna by voting for the Canadian Hockey Awards. The Father David Bauer Award recognizes leadership. The nominees, Claire Drake, Dave King, and Glenn Sather. Ballots and contest details available at Esso Retailers and Associates and TSN on the internet. Vote today.
Well, Paul, Niemi is in the box for tripping, and I think somebody better call Interpol and the FBI right now and try to locate the sniper in the building who felled Nabokov here. Watch this. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, there he goes. He was shot. He's down. Referee Mark Jeanette. Canada bought that one.
Russia 1 for 2 in the power play. A couple of shots on goal during the man advantage. A 5-2 lead. Here's Zuzin. Klavakin is out there. Ryabkin goes after it, works it up. Here's Samsonov. Samsonov has 1 goal in this game. Nifty little move from in tight. Let's see what he does here. And he couldn't walk across Salonen on that occasion. 1:38 to go in the power play. Russia trailed at 1.2-0 early in the second period, but has stormed back. Here's Samsonov. Gets it out. Zuzin shooting. He wired that one. And Toskala with a nice save. Samsonov tried to get it across for Zuzin. Scores! Dmitry Klavakin on the power play, and it's 6-2 for Russia. Past the Salt, and Salt this one away.
Can you say Big Red Machine? Because I'll tell you, they look like the Big Red Machine of old. The tic-tac-toe passing all over. Samsonov puts the pass out to Ipan Chintsev. A great back pass by Ipan Chintsev to Klavakin. And the Tampa Bay Lightning connection from one Lightning prospect to another one. Put that one and beat him on the far side. Beat Toskala on the far side. 6-2. Klavakin's second goal. A power play effort.
The Russia goal scored by number 9, Dmitry Klavakin.
Klavakin gets the goal, Russia's second power play goal of the hockey game.
By number 8, Vladimir Kravchuk, and number 27, Sergei Samsonov.
Here's Zimakov. Samsonov picks up an assist on that goal, as does number 8, Vadim Ipan Chintsev.
Power play goal scored by number 9, Klavakin.
You know what the good thing about this is, though? Look forward to a Canada-Russia game in the semifinal. It just wouldn't be a World Junior tournament without a game between Canada and Russia. And we are basically guaranteed of that now, barring a major comeback by Finland.
The kind of matchup you might prefer to see in the finals, but hey, a one-game sudden death semifinal, new format this year. Czechs are going to play the Swedes in one semifinal.
Alomo gets it up ahead. Hirvonen trying to get loose. Dropped it back. Puck fired. Igorov stopped that. Teravainen. That's stopped by Igorov. Good low shot in from Niemi back at the blue line. Here's Alomo along the boards. Had it pulled away. Niemi back to pick it up. And Niemi being trailed there by Korolak. That's Niemi with the puck. And he was trying to hit Buraverta there coming down the right wing. Morozov. But Toskala comes out to play it up over the glass. And out of play. Played 9 minutes and 13 seconds of this third period. Russia leading Finland 6-2.
Like a rock, I was strong as I could be. Like a rock, nothing ever got to me.
Introducing the most powerful line of engines ever in a Chevy truck, Vortec.
Like a rock.
Chevy, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
Finland scored the first couple of goals in this one. Since then, though, Russia storming back. 5 goals in the second period, another one here in the third. 6-2 is the score. Game story brought to you by Chevrolet, tried, tested, and true. Igor Dmitriev has to be happy with the way his team responded. Finland was the better team in the first period, but Russia coming out and cranking it up in the second. This is Petrolainen for Finland. Shapikov moves it up. And offside called on Finland. Again, Finland has not defeated Russia at the World Juniors since 1987. It was a 5-4 win.
And their overall record since 1977, the year of the first World Junior Championship, 3-14-2 for a winning percentage of .210. Of course, by contrast, the Russian mark, 790. Winning percentage against the Finns, surpassed only by the Russians' performance against the Americans at 812 winning percentage.
Kallio up there after it for Finland. Jokinen as well. Here's Salonen along the boards. Zuzin for Russia. Tipped back in by Lidman. Kallio up there after it. Salonen along the boards, battling with Shalami. Ipanchinsev gets it up ahead. Here's Plevakin. Plevakin trying to get it up there for Zuzin. Plevakin, number 9, gets it back to Zuzin. Samsonov is out there too. And Lidman with it for Finland, can't get it out. And Russia just dominating at this point. Here's Samsonov, he's bumped back to the net, gets it to Ipanchinsev. Over to Samsonov. Plevakin buzzing around in the slot. Takes the pass, takes the shot, and it's grabbed by Toskala. Nice work out there by Plevakin, working around with Samsonov and Ipanchinsev. A nice line for Russia.
Buffalo Sabre General Manager John Muckler checking out the game tonight and trying to maybe pick up a few first-round picks here or there in the rebuilding job. Maybe he wants to have a look at Samsonov, number 27, a couple of years down the road, 97 draft. Makes a nice pass out to Plevakin. Slovakian fires a hard shot, stopped by Toskala. Lots of scouts here today. They're interested in seeing especially these young Russian players that we've been talking about all day. Zuzin, Petrunin, Samsonov. Talked to a couple between periods. They describe the Russians as great bottom feeders, aren't they? Meaning, of course, they're the fish that lurk in the weeds at the bottom and wait for the big games, and here they come again.
Here's Petrunin, drops it back. Koroluk cuts up there, tried to roll it through. Toskala with a nice save to follow Petrunin across. Puck comes back out. Petrosinin with a shot. He wired that one. And Vesa Toskala has done a fine job for Finland coming on here in the third period. Mika Kiprasov was the starting goal. He pulled himself in the last minute of the second period after giving up the fifth Russian goal in a row. Here's Alomo. On the way back for Finland. Zimakov ricochets it out. Akotnikov bumped along the boards by Vureverda. Here's Salpa. Lauminen knocks that down, waits for his mates to get on side. He'll just push it in now. But push it in though he may, the Finns just can't get any kind of an attack mounted. Here's Lauminen. He'll fire it up there. Igorov stops that. Salpa centers it in front. Puck flipped up. Great chance for Vureverda. And Nabokov will start back for Russia. Nabokov gets it up ahead. Shafikov drops it back. Morozov drops it back again. Akotnikov gets it over Zuzin. Couldn't get that on goal. Here's Zuzin knocking it down. Couldn't keep it in, however. Kuki coming back up for Finland. Shoots. Rising shot grabbed by Igorov, and he will hang on to it. Russia with a 6-2 lead. Time winding down here in the third. Back in a moment.
Hey, it's your choice. For 96 cents with beverage purchase, you can have juicy meatballs on fresh-baked bread with marinara sauce and loads of fresh-cut fixins in a sandwich made right before your eyes, or a pre-made burger. Want to see it again? No problem. So what's it going to be? Hurry in. Subway's meatball sub is just 96 cents with beverage purchase for a limited time.
Well, he hasn't been too busy, but Igorov comes up with a couple of good saves. Vureverda, big number 22, storms the net, drives hard. The Los Angeles King draftee tries to get something on that one, but a good save by Igorov as he sprawls out, makes an acrobatic look at it. Kuki, number 16, does a good job of fending off Ziminov, number 11, and freeing a nice path to the net for the big King prospect.
Pahaka up in the faceoff for Finland, got it back, and Lidman couldn't get the shot on goal. Lidman again, shoots. Rihiarvi going after it. Lidman up along the boards. Rihiarvi over there helping him out. And Puhaka out there as well. Finland desperate for some offense, trailing 6-2. And Klevakin coming down the other way. We got a penalty coming up. That was back behind the play. You could see that happening. And it's going to be Marko Mäkinen heading off. A Russian power play coming up.
Defending champion Nebraska and unbeaten Florida are on a collision course. Get set for a showcase to decide U.S. college football supremacy. The Fiesta Bowl. Go deep. Tuesday on TSN. It's the last ride of the year. Take a look back at a year of thunder. NASCAR Year in Review, Saturday, TSN.
Marko Mäkinen picks up a roughing penalty. He was up against the boards with Sergei Samsonov, number 27. Got very physical and actually tried to rip Samsonov's head right off here. And it was just prior to that, just holding on to his head. 2 minutes for holding on to his head, basically. And Samsonov came back with a big chop, but never got caught.
Russia is 2 for 3 in the power play, leading 6-2. Zimakov fires that one up. It was tipped. Toskala bats that away. Melyakov. Korolak has Melyakov in the slot, decided to go back to the blue line, and Zimakov not able to keep it in. Petroshenin has the puck. Dallas Stars draft pick. Yevgeny Petroshenin clearing it up ahead. Melyakov with it, only briefly. Petroshenin takes over again and gets a bit of room. Got around Rayamaki, gets it out in front of the net. Stopped by Toskala, going after it again, trying to get up there is Korolak. Petroshenin picked off there by Salonen. And Alomo not able to get away. Melyakov. Petrunin just broke his stick. Melyakov looked back to pass it to him. Petrunin dropped his stick and is headed to the bench. Vasilyev clears it up. 40 seconds left in the power play for Russia. Russia leading 6-2. Up there after it, Korolak shoots, and Toskala will hang on to it.
Toskala looking very sharp since he's taken over for Mikko Kiprasov in the dying seconds of the second period. Kiprasov pulled himself, basically. Toskala went in. He's had lots of international experience before. It is his first World Junior tournament, but on 2 occasions he's been named the best goalie at the very prestigious Four Nations Cup. Toskala has a tough time controlling a rebound. He kicks this one right back out, and they end up getting another good opportunity. But Korolak here picks up a shot. A loose puck comes in and rifles a high one. It was right into the equipment of Toskala.
Toskala plays for a team in Tampere over in the Finnish Elite League. And he's only 18 years old, so pretty young by Elite League standards. He started off the season as the #2 goalie and is now one of the best goalies in the league, #1 with his team. But he's pretty much shared the duties here at this tournament with Mikko Kiprasov. Puck handed away there. Weak backhand shot by Kallio. No problem for Igorov. 3 seconds left in the power play for Russia. On the move is Nabokov. Nabokov up ahead there for Shafikov. Teams back at even strength. Shafikov along the boards. Petrolainen for Finland, no further than the blue line. This is Nabokov. Shafikov tried to walk through there. Here comes Salpa back the other way. Salpa up after his own rebound, knocked away. Here's Zuzin. Zuzin all the way across for Nabokov, up over 2 lines. Offside pass called on Russia. Played 16-15 of this third period. Russia with a 6-2 lead and all but a lock to go on and meet Canada in the semifinal on Wednesday. The other semifinal will feature Sweden and the Czech Republic.
Well, this game hasn't been totally without contact. Vasilyev scored a fluky goal to get Russia on their way in a big win over Sweden, 5-2 in the round robin. Throws out a nice hip check there.
Yaraventi will clear it in. Delayed offside there. Roberta had to come out and clear the zone. And here is Sergei Samsonov. He will start back, works it up ahead, up over 2 lines for Ryabkin. Offside called on Russia.
Oh, the Russians have always had explosive offensive power, especially in this tournament. Look at the all-time scoring leaders for the Russians. Pavel Bure leads the way. 3 years he played in the World Juniors, 39 points. Right behind him, Alexander McGillney, who also played 3 years. Sergei Makarov next on the list, and one day it may be Sergei Samsonov. Playing in his first World Junior tournament. Not likely to be his last unless he finds himself in the National Hockey League in short order, but he can't even be drafted until 1997, so he's a pretty good bet. He'll be back in this tournament next year.
Next year, the tournament being held in Switzerland. Although Switzerland facing relegation in the relegation round here this year. And there has been some talk that if Switzerland is relegated, it would not host the tournament next year. The tournament could perhaps be played in Canada.
Well, it's a possibility. They're also talking about changing rules.
Puck up ahead. Jokinen gets it in front. Igorov sliding across there. Okotnikov. Pardon me, that's Epenchintsev up there. Epenchintsev drops it back for Samsonov. Epenchintsev knocked down. Samsonov going after it. And the puck cleared up over the glass there by Niemi. You're watching the World Junior Hockey Championship on TSN.
Figuring out who has the best long-distance savings can make you crazy.
But the truth will set you free.
Introducing the Most Savings Plan. The best monthly savings compared to your local phone company's plan, guaranteed, wherever or whenever you call.
Now I save more calling in Canada.
That's what's new about the Most Savings Plan. Now you can save more on your Canadian calls.
And guess what? It's guaranteed. Get the most for the least from Sprint Canada.
Call 1-800-THE-MOST for details now.
Semi-final action coming up Wednesday. Sweden against the Czech Republic. The winner advances to the final. And barring the most amazing comeback in the history of hockey, it'll be Canada against Russia in the other semi-final. And you can see both games live on TSN.
Canada, Russia.
Love it. Has a ring to it.
Certainly does. Not the same as it was, I guess, in 1972 or through the 70s, but it's still pretty exciting. And when push comes to shove, I'm sure the Americans will make a case for this to be different at the World Cup next fall. Still two top hockey nations doing battle.
I would think it'll be even more so at the World Cup. Russia having all its best players.
Yeah, you gotta watch those Americans, though, in the National Hockey League. Heaven help us all if they ever figure out what they're doing, because they've got tremendous talent. They just never seem to be able to put it all together when it counts.
And Igor Dmitriev's team has certainly put it all together in this game. Getting better as the tournament has gone on. Czech Republic losing 5-3, a tie against Slovakia, but then wins over Sweden, Germany, and just domination over Finland in this relegation game. Pardon me, in this elimination game. Korolek up there after it. Petrunin, number 28, trying to dig it loose for Russia. And Petrunin tied up there with Lutvonen. Puck comes loose. Hirvonen on the way for Finland. Hits center, hits the blue line, shoots a rising shot, batted away by Igorov. Up over the glass and out of play. Under 2 minutes to go in this one.
Well, the Finns won't be eliminated from this tournament. They're simply eliminated from medal competition. They will meet the Americans in a game to determine the winner for fifth. The winner would get 5th place, the loser 6th place.
6 medals during the 1980s for Finland. Things were really on an upswing for the team at the World Juniors. No medals in the 90s.
In the last 7 years, they have not finished higher than 4th place. Bronze medal in 1988 was the last one. They did win gold in 87, but it was tainted gold. After Canada-Russia, the matchup we're going to see later in the week, decided to drop the gloves and go at it, and Pia Stani.
Flora Roberta spinning around up there, trying to get it in front for Finland.
Lights out, Theo Fleury decking guys. Brings a tear to your eye, doesn't it, Paul?
Lindman gets it up into the corner. Cookie after it.
Don Cherry wanting to kill Brian Williams.
That's what I remember, actually. I wasn't there. I was watching it on CBC, and I remember Sherry Basson actually doing color with Don Whitman, and they've turned the lights out. What's going on? Shaftikov walking up. Koskela knocks that away. it's degenerated to the point we're talking about the other networks' coverage of the World Junior Tournament. That's how out of hand this one has been. Egorov will stop that and hang on to it with mercifully 13 seconds to go. 6-2, Russia leading Finland, and Russia punching its own ticket off to the semifinal against Canada.
Should present a formidable challenge for Canada. Coach Marcel Como and his staff here today to witness this. What they saw was a Russian team that got off very slow off the mark, not unlike the picture for the whole tournament. And then sensing that there was a moment of danger, they come storming back and they just blow the Finns out of the water with some great individual effort, and they are an explosive team, and Canada will have their hands full with that offense on Wednesday.
This is Niemi up there for Finland. And that'll do it for this one. It will be Russia and Canada in the semifinal. And Finland will go on to play for 5th place.
Well, it was only close for a period. If you tuned in after the first 20 minutes, you would have thought Finland was on their way to the next round. The Russians came back strong, scored 6 unanswered goals after falling behind 2-0 early in the second period. Coach Igor Dmitriev, perhaps most importantly, got his young guys, Andrei Petrunin, Sergei Samsonov, Susan, the big defenseman, got all his young guys a lot of ice time and got them into this tournament, which they, with the exception of Susan, they maybe hadn't done to the degree people expected. That's only going to make the next game against Canada that much more exciting.
And for Harry Rendell and his team, it must be a bitter disappointment after a strong game against Canada, which was a loss, but a close one. A good game for both teams, Finland and Canada. And only to come out in this game and really just fall apart after playing a very fine first period. Time now for the Player of the Game awards. And that is Dave Fitzpatrick, familiar face to Canadian hockey fans.
Is Dave Fitzpatrick on behalf of the
And
International
Dave
Ice
now
Hockey
works with the
Federation.
International Ice Hockey Federation, but worked for years with Canadian
The
hockey.
Team Finland Player of the Game.
Logistical coordinator for the Canada Junior program over the years. The Player of the Game, number 11, Hervinen. Did a nice job on the face-offs for the Finns tonight.
And the Team
Colorado
Russia Player of
Avalanche
the
draft
Game
pick in
is
1995.
number 1, Alexei Egorov.
And Alexei Egorov is the Player of the Game for Russia. Gave up a couple of goals in the first period and a bit, and then that was it.
Team Russia.
So Russia wins 6-2. More to come as our coverage of the World Junior Championship continues.
Time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by UAP Napa Auto Parts. Sergei Samsonov is the player that everyone came to see in this tournament, eligible for the 1997 draft. He'd been ill earlier on and hadn't shown much, but he finally showed the scouts what they'd come to see here. With the game tied at 2 in the second period, Samsonov finds the open ice and then finds the puck and taps it home for the 3-2 goal that turned out to be the one that gave the Russians the lead for good. That is today's TSN Turning Point. A cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of coaches in amateur sport on behalf of TSN and the UAP Napa Auto Parts stores across Canada. So it'll be Canada and Russia in the semifinals on Wednesday as Russia demolishes Finland. We'll be back with more from the 1996 World Junior Hockey Championship right after.